Rolling. E-mountain bike, Pinkbike, e-mountain bike, pink field test, mountain bike. One more time. Hello and welcome to the 2025 Pinkbike Field Test. We're back here in the office after 2 weeks in Bentonville, Arkansas. And today we're going to be talking about the Norco Sight VLT.
So we got 150 mils of travel in the rear, 160 up front. It is rolling on Norco's VPS HP suspension layout, which stands for high pivot. It's a 4-bar high pivot, like many of the other bikes out there. It's rolling on mixed wheels, and we got the Gen 5 Bosch CX motor, an 800 watt-hour battery, and our test bike weighed in at 49.06 pounds and 22.4 kilograms for our non-American viewers out there.
Those are the broad strokes of what the Norco is all about. We're going to get into some ride impressions here, starting with how it is on the climbs. I mean, obviously this is an e-bike, but in the broader scope of the e-bikes that we had here, how do you think it shook out?
I really like this bike. I think Norco does a really good job with their ride-aligned sort of sizing and weight distribution system they've got going on there. The seat angle felt comfortable, and the weight distribution is such that I didn't find myself like losing the front end or any of that stuff. Like I felt very balanced in the bike. Of course, it's an e-bike, so it's kind of splitting hairs, but it did feel good for me going up.
We did that racy climb challenge, and it didn't shake out super well in that, but I think that had more to do with, you know, me and the course rather than the bike itself. I think the Norco is like a pretty lively feeling bike. It's not quite as much of a plow as some of the others, but it like is a good balance of up and down. So I think for the majority of riders who are looking for kind of like a well-rounded thing, it shakes out pretty well. It's partially to do with the fact that it has a slightly lighter and more all-mountain fork spec with the Lyric versus like the Zebra 38 that the other bikes have.
I think it really shines there. I felt like the similar thing with the balance on climbing goes for descending. It's just a really fun, comfortable bike. And like you said, it's not as plowy as some of the other bikes. It did feel a bit more lively, even with that high pivot.
But it's just fun. It's like a good, I found it really easy to get used to, I think, compared to some of the others that were a bit more learning curve to understanding like how to position yourself, how to deal with certain like dynamic situations on trail. The Norco is like, hop on, you're used to it pretty much immediately.
Yeah.
It works. We're using kind of vague terms like not plowy and fun, but I think drilling down into what that actually means, to me, the Norco is a good electric augmentation of your typical trail bike. It feels like something that does everything pretty well, and unlike some of the others, is more about riding single track up and down the hill as opposed to like getting to the top of the gnarliest descent and then making the most of that. So I think it's a good balance in that sense.
Yeah, I don't have very much to add in terms of ride impressions. I thought it was very easy to ride, very natural feeling, and yeah, just a really fun kind of all-around bike, like you said.
Again, a pretty simple bike. In the scheme of things here, it doesn't have any adjustments to speak of. Despite having like the high pivot with the idler, we didn't have any issues with the drivetrain. In the scheme of, you know, all the bikes we had here, it's one of the simpler ones, and I think that helps it in terms of long-term utility.
I also really want to shout out the Norco Ride-Aligned Setup Guide.
Yeah.
It's their kind of in-house system that you put in your weight and a bit about your riding style, how tall you are, that sort of stuff, and it spits out like a very detailed setup instruction.
Yeah, it's kind of like the first, and I'd say still the best calculator for all those things. So you give it all your info, it tells you suspension settings, pressures, it goes as far as like bar width, tire pressures, like some of those finer details are worth playing with yourself, but for like suspension pressures, which I think is the most challenging thing for a typical consumer to like get dialed in, it's a really good starting point. I will say like some of the other bikes do have setup guides as well, but Norco is again like the first to do it really well, and I think that holds true here.
Like you said, I didn't deviate at all from what they said. It felt good right away. So yeah, feather in the cap of the Norco Sight VLT for just kind of like getting it out of the box, getting it set up, and you should feel pretty close.
Less time faffing, more time riding.
right off the bat, a pro for this bike for me and probably for a lot of people out there is the price. It is very competitively priced. It is about 20% cheaper than the Forbidden equivalent. I'd say those two bikes are pretty similar in terms of intention, travel numbers, all that stuff. Quite a big value proposition there. Another pro, a really good all-around bike that anyone's gonna feel pretty comfortable on for a wide variety of terrain right out of the box. This was our top performing, or my objectively decided top jumper. So I think it's a really playful and fun bike to ride.
I think that kind of leads into my first con, which is compared to some of the others on test, it's not quite as capable through like the roughest sections of trail. I think part of the balance here is the fact that it's lively on mellower trails, but isn't quite as much of a truck, if you will, through the rough stuff. I think another con is the fork spec. I think will suit some people in some ride styles, but it's definitely the standout here. Like all the other bikes have a 38 or a Zeb. This is a Lyric, which is, I think, fine. It worked well for the purpose of the test, but like there's definitely a benefit to having a stiffer, burlier fork on an e-bike.
I have a sneaking suspicion they're developing a range e-bike that they're probably trying to differentiate with
makes sense,
the fork. But I agree, like you kind of feel like you'd want a Zeb on there, like because it descends quite well. And
like why not?
Heavy e-bike, a little bit more stiffness in the chassis. Yeah. Okay, Dario, who is this bike for?
I think it's for the dark blue baddies out there. This is like a good trail bike with a motor. It's not the burliest that we have here, but I found it was like capable enough to handle just about everything, but definitely indexed more on the like fun side of things. So if you're someone who's riding like your standard trail system, not doing anything super extreme, handles really well, keeps things fun, and isn't too much of a sled to like have fun on those mellower trails.
But I think this is just for the person who wants a sick e-bike at like a good deal.
Yeah, it's only $10,000.
Yeah, well, relatively good deal.
But it is like $2,500 cheaper than the next option.
No, but also the cheapest option is $6,700.
That's true.
So, which is like, look at the spec. It's actually decent.
It's not a bad spec. Like, yeah, that's a good point. Like, this is the maybe only value build, if you can call it that.
Like the cheapest complete of this Norco Sight VLT CX is cheaper than some of the frames. Like Crestline is a frame only, and it is more than that.
That's true.
I think it's the best value option for someone who wants a sick e-bike and not fully break the bank. But it is still, like you said, it's still an e-bike. It's still expensive.
That is the Norco in a nutshell, and please be sure to check out the full episodes to see how we tested these bikes and to dig into all the little challenges that we put them through. If you want just some straight up trail bike content, head over to Kaz and Matt's version of this somewhere else, and head to the Pinkbike homepage where we have written reviews of each of these bikes, as well as these fun videos.
Thank you for watching.